All right, welcome. In this video, I want to do a real brief tutorial on having a better understanding on how to pivot from mortgage protection to what you're going to hear as equity protection. And I wrote down just a hypothetical gentleman who is 50 years of age, okay, 50-year-old male, tobacco, non-tobacco, we'll just say non-tobacco user. Just refinanced this property and took a $200,000 loan out. The market's up. The market value is $400,000. So simple math. He owes $200,000. The present market value is $400,000, which means he has $200,000 of potential equity in the property. So you do what every good agent should do with FFL. You go in there, you set the table, you review expectations of what the client is going to expect in the visit, in the appointment, and you open up your binder, you get into the financial inventory sheet. You already know his name because remember you reviewed that in the car. You know his name, you know his lender, and you know how much his mortgage is. So you go in there and you do that. And obviously, depending on where you live in the country, real estate taxes vary. Okay, so you're really not going to know what their monthly payment is till you actually sit down. And so I make sure when I sit down, I always ask that information. I want to know how much they're paying per month. And I'm going to review income, and I want to see whether he's making more, his wife is making more, so on. But for the sake of this tutorial, I just want to focus in on this gentleman right here. 50-year-old male, $200,000 loan amount, $400,000 potential market value on the property. His monthly payment is $1,600. You start to go through the medical portion of the questions, and you find out that he dealt with prostate cancer 4 years ago. Had surgery, went through treatment. Thank God, thank the Lord. He's 4 years out of treatment, and he's cancer-free. When you go into the home and you're in your head, okay, it's mortgage protection, term product. You pre-screen him through Americo, and he's on no medication. I mean, yeah, everything's great. You're a new agent. Okay, this guy's great. Everything's fine. Well, he gets declined through the pre-screen. And the reality of it is that when you have cancer in your history, depending on the carrier, but your minimum, depending on the carrier, 5 years out, most 10 years out, and even at that, it's not the easiest thing to get him approved for. But for sake of this conversation, this tutorial, he's 4 years out. He's not going to qualify for any term with any carrier, okay? You have to get that through your head, the agent. He's on no medication presently. He goes to the gym. The guy's built. He's a picture of health today. He wasn't the picture of health 4.5, 5 years ago, okay? And the MIB is going to make that very clear to you, the agent. You're not going to get him a term product today. So then what do? You say, okay, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You get up and walk away. No, that's not the case at all. What you do is you explain, as you should as an agent, that because of the medical history, the information that was made available through the pre-screen of the Medical Information Bureau, that because of his successful but still realistic diagnosis and treatment of cancer, no carrier is going to write him a term product. That doesn't mean that you, the agent, can't help them. Okay? So here's what you do. This is how you pivot from mortgage protection to equity protection. And let me make this point really clear. If you understand who our carriers are, Eagle Premier with Americo, Living Promise with Mutual, Aetna Ascendo. Aetna Ascendo maxes out at 50,000. Living Promise maxes out at 40,000. Pardon me, Eagle Premier maxes out at 30,000. Okay? 50,000 is not 200,000. Meaning, it's got 200,000 of equity. A lot of agents go in there thinking they have to cover the equity of the property. That's not what you're covering. Okay? The reality of it is, if he were to, God forbid, not come home tomorrow, whether it's a recurrence of a diagnosis or a car accident, or maybe he's a landscaper, I don't know, whatever kind of accident, he doesn't come home tomorrow for any reason, okay? Not only does his family have a $200,000 loan out, there's also an added $200,000 of equity. Your job isn't to cover the equity, it's to protect the equity. You understand that? It's very different, two very different things. Okay? Well, how do I protect the equity as an agent? Well, I let them know, and this is why this number here is so important. Their monthly payment's $1,600, which means they're paying a little over almost $19,000 a year in mortgage payment. Okay? So when I'm sitting with that client, this is what I do. I explain to the gentleman that with no fault of myself or himself, unfortunately he had this diagnosis, but it doesn't mean his family should be placed in a position that if he doesn't come home tomorrow, not only are they going to lose all of his income, but now they're still under the weight of this loan, and if they lost the house, they're losing more than a home. They're losing a ton of equity. So here is how you present that product. You're going to go, whether you go to Eagle Premier with Americo, Living Promise with Mutual, or Aetna Ascendo, whatever, Prosperity, doesn't matter. The carrier is not that important. The important thing is that you know that when you go to a whole life policy, because the underwriting guides are more lenient than the term guides, right? We went in there with the intent, mortgage protection. But now that we do the in-home process the right way, and we ask the right questions, I, as the agent, now know that because he has cancer in his history, term products out. Now I have to, in my mind, pivot. How do I protect this family if something were to happen to him? And this is how you do it. You go into your quote app, and you pick your carrier. Let's just assume for right now it's the Eagle Premier with Americo. You're going to give him 3 prices. You're going to give him a premium for 6-month protection, which is about $10,000 of coverage. You're going to give him 12 months of protection, which is about $20,000 of coverage. In other words, he takes a policy for $20,000. If something happens to him, his wife, his kids, his family, whoever is going to be picking up the pieces, for $20,000, they have approximately 12 months of the mortgage paid. And a year and a half is about $28,000 and change. You can just round it up to $30,000. So if you want to know how I do equity protection, this is how I do it. When I'm sitting with this client, I let them know that I'm terribly sorry to hear that they were diagnosed with cancer. I'm elated to hear that they've got the treatment and they're cancer-free. However, I'm powerless to find a carrier that's going to give them a term product for $200,000. Now, true, you can stack products. That's true, but that's not the point I'm trying to make here. The point I'm making here is this, that how you pivot from mortgage protection to equity protection is you get their monthly payment and you're going to multiply it to, depending on the amount, to either 6 months for $10,000. That means that if he doesn't come home, his beneficiary gets a check for $10,000. They immediately put that on the mortgage, and the mortgage is paid for 6 months, which gives the survivor or beneficiary time to figure out what the next step is. That's what we're doing. We're buying time to protect the equity in the property, not covering the equity of the property, because the reason I chose this number is because the difference of loan and equity is the same. They have a $200,000 loan, but their equity is $200,000. They're not going to get that in a term product. So 6 months protection, $10,000. 12 months protection, $20,000. And I don't know about you, but when I'm doing this in home, I'm writing it out for the client, and I'm going to add, and I'm going to put a star in it or an asterisk. This is what most people choose right here. 1 year of equity protection. So your family, your survivors, your beneficiary, whoever it is that's picking up the pieces, has peace of mind for the next 12 months that the mortgage is paid. And of course, you can do 18 months for $30,000. If you want to go to another carrier and go to 40 and 50, you're obviously welcome to do that. Never more than 3 options. And the most important takeaway from this video, this tutorial, you want to know what this amount is. Don't get too concerned about here because they're not going to get a product to cover them for $200,000. Okay? Now, Joe, can I stack a $20,000 or $30,000 Eagle Premier with a $50,000 Aetna? Of course you could. If their budget allows and the premium works for them, by all means. You can stack 3, 4 companies. Doesn't matter. If the person's willing to do that and it's affordable. But if not, you want to make sure that before you leave that house, they have minimum 6 months protection. And obviously you're going to max out with these, but you want to try and get them at least 1 year protection of their $1,600 a month mortgage payment so that their family's not left in the cold. Hopefully that helps explain equity protection. Hope you enjoyed.